The Syrian Arab Army clamps down on terrorists in Quneitra, Homs, Idleb and Aleppo, leaving many of them dead. On the occasion of the Syrian prisoner day, Syrian prisoners in Israeli occupation jails are still subject to detention, torture and all sorts of barbaric practices. And the Saudi regime uses internationally prohibited weapons in its ongoing aggression on Yemen. Good afternoon, this is News in English from the Syrian Arab Television in Damascus. We start off with the field developments, and we start from central Syria and Homs northern and eastern countryside, where the Syrian Arab Army units have continued their operations, killing a number of terrorists and wounding others. A Syrian Army unit has ambushed a terrorist group who tried to attack the National Hospital in Al-Hula area, leaving many of them dead or wounded. Another army unit eliminated a number of ISIL terrorists in Shashuh and injured others in At-Tuwainat and east of Al-Jazal oil wells northwest of Palmyra. In Idlib countryside to the north of Syria, the Syrian Arab Army has eliminated a number of terrorists and destroyed their weapons and ammunition. Hideouts belonging to terrorists were also destroyed in Kafar Latta, in Jabal al-Arba'in. In Aleppo countryside, several armed men were moreover killed or wounded in Al-Mansoura and Khan al-Asal. In Lattakia outskirts, the Syrian Arab Army has destroyed the terrorist al-Nusra oppositions in several villages, including Az-Zaytuna, Al-Ruwaysat, Al-Rashwan. Terrorist vehicles have, on the other hand, been destroyed in Batina and western As-Samdaniya in Quneitra countryside. Moving to Daraa, in the southern parts of Syria, the Syrian Arab Army has achieved a big progress and destroyed terrorist hideouts in Ataman, which is considered the point of interconnection among terrorist organizations in Daraa countryside. The Syrian Prisoner Day was commemorated today in a sit-in staged in front of the headquarters of the International Red Cross Committee in Damascus. The participants in the sit-in denounced the Zionist barbaric practices and arbitrary detention against Syrian citizens from occupied Syrian Golan held in Israeli occupation jails. Many Golan citizens, it is to be noted, are still being held in Israeli occupation jails, subject to torture and all sorts of barbaric practices. On this day, the Syrians invoke the memory of the martyred prisoners. We recall Hayat Abu Zaid and Seitan al-Wili. We also remember that the fifth of the Golan population have been either imprisoned or harassed by the Israeli occupation forces. The last of those detained was Sidq al-Maqt. In our regional news, more than 5 huge explosions have rocked the capital Sana'a, which Saudi-led airstrikes hit the mountains Faj'atan and Al-Ghosh district, south and north of the capital, killing 35 civilians and wounding more than 360 others. Several suffocation cases have also been reported as a result of the use of Saudi warplanes of poisonous missiles, gases. Scores have meanwhile been killed in a series of other raids targeting the cities of Adan, Lahj, Adhil and Al-Hadida south of the country. The airstrikes also damaged the communication tower in Al-Hardi in Hijj, west of Yemen, as well as a special troops camp in Taz. The Yemeni Armed Forces official spokesperson Staff Brigadier Sharaf Ghalib Luqman said that the Saudi Gulf aggression has entered a phase of despair with the use of internationally prohibited weapons. He affirmed the need to continue deterring the aggression through all available means, calling on the world community to conduct an international investigation and to shoulder its legal, moral and humanitarian responsibility regarding the war of genocide waged against the Yemeni people. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani called on the international community to condemn the Saudi aggression against Yemen, asserting that the Yemeni crisis will only be solved through inter-Yemeni dialogue, not through a military action or by interference in the country's internal affairs. In a statement before heading to Indonesia to participate in the anniversary of founding of the Asian African Conference, Rouhani said that the destruction of infrastructure of a weak country by a neighboring country committing massacres against the children and women means only that the aggressive country has lost its balance. Rouhani explained that the attacking country had sought to achieve its goals in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon and North Africa, but it has failed, so that it wanted to make up for its failure by launching the aggression against the Yemeni people. On his country's negotiations with the 5+1 group concerning the nuclear program of Iran, Rouhani said that the negotiations are in progress and an agreement would be for the benefit of everyone. In Iraq, the advance made by the Iraqi security forces pushed away ISIS terrorists from Ramadi-city. The Iraqi army and security forces achieved great victories, especially in As-Sufia and Al-Hous areas, killing dozens of terrorists and forcing them to flee, leaving planted explosives and mine bombs in 70 houses in the outskirts of Ramadi-city. On the other hand, head of the Security and Defense Committee in the Parliament revealed that this terrorist organization of ISIS had recruited hundreds of families that were displaced from Mosul and Tikrit with the aim of making an entry of about 1,000 persons into the capital Baghdad, noting that such an entry is a real danger that threatens the security of the capital. In occupied Palestine, hundreds of Zionist settlers supported by the Israeli occupation forces stormed the tomb of Prophet Younes near Balata refugee camp east of Nablus in the West Bank. Palestinian sources said that the Israeli military vehicles were deployed in the streets surrounding the tomb, followed by more than 7 large buses carrying settlers accompanied by more than 40 military vehicles. Clashes erupted between the Palestinians and the Israeli forces of occupation in the vicinity of the camp, during which the occupation forces fired bullets and tear gas, injuring a Palestinian young man. In Deir al-Balah, Israeli bulldozers made an incursion into Palestinian farms east of Gaza Strip, under the Israeli cover of heavy gunfire and smoke bombs. Libyan Air Force targeted a stronghold of the ISIS terrorists at the western entrance of Daraa city, inflicting heavy casualties on them. 9 ISIS terrorists, including one of their leaders, were also killed, and more than 20 others were injured in clashes between the citizens in the area of western Shiha in Daraa. The clashes erupted after the terrorists encircled the house in an attempt to arrest one of its residents, prompting the citizens in the area to confront them. And on a lighter note, if there is a sweet that symbolizes Ramadan month, which is upcoming very soon, in the Middle East it is Qatayef. Qatayef are cooked on one side, then filled with cream. More in the following.
If there is a sweet that symbolizes Ramadan month in the Middle East, it's Qatayef. Pancakes similar to Scotch muffin but thinner. You can have them plain, topped with qashta, clotted cream, pinched half closed to make them look like cones, and drizzled with sugar syrup. And you can have them filled with cream, walnuts, or unsalted cheese, then fried and dipped in sugar syrup.
Qatayef is an ancient Damascene sweets, and it's one of the best sweets in Syria.
The Qatayef maker is just behind the sales counter, pouring his batter onto the large hot plate, making hundreds of pancakes in no time at all. Qatayef are cooked on one side with the bottom smooth and golden, and the top bookmarked with lots of tiny holes.
You can make the Syrian Qatayef at home. It's more fun to eat them at the street. For English news, Abdullah Al-Haj, the Syrian TV.
With this, we conclude our news for today. Stay with us. After the break, we bring you the latest in the world of business and economic.